welcome to Dialogue. I'm Yang Rui in Beijing. The Chinese theatrical adaptation of Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre came back on stage this summer and gathering critical acclaim. Today I'm very happy to be joined here by its leading actor, Mr. Wang洛勇, who stars as Jane Eyre's lover, Edward Rochester. Mr. Wang is the first Chinese actor to debut on a Broadway stage. His outstanding performance captivating American audiences. Today I'm very happy to hear his interpretations on the characters from the classic tale for the theater and his unique experience both on Broadway and in the Chinese cultural sphere. But before we get started, let's take a look at this.
As the first Chinese to sing on Broadway, his notable life is the subject of a book. Wang洛勇has always fought for his dream of becoming a performer. Born and raised in central China's Henan province, Wang began acting training at a Peking opera school at an early age. He received a bachelor's degree from the Shanghai Theater Academy and later studied at Boston University. He was turned away from Broadway time and again, before finally, in 1995, securing the pivotal role of the engineer in the iconic musical Miss Saigon. The New York Times praised his performance as electric. Wang went on to play this role in more than 2,500 performances over the next 6 years. In 2002, Wang returned to China and began acting in film and television. On top of his many TV credits, he is also a drama teacher. In 2009, Wang made his debut at the National Theater in Beijing, performing Edward Rochester in a play adapted from the classic romantic novel Jane Eyre. His performance in the ongoing production has made it one of the best-selling plays at theaters over the past several years.
Welcome to Dialogue, sir.
Thank you.
Jane Eyre is obviously a love story by Charlotte Bronte, a British playwright and author. Now, that reminds me of what William Shakespeare says, to be or not to be.
Exactly.
Because by the end of the story, you were confronted with the ruins of a life. Is that the beginning of a new life that's going to take place between Rochester and Jane Eyre? What's your take about the new beginning for Jane Eyre, who seemed to have been lost for quite a while when she came to know, Rochester was married. So she decided to leave him behind and leave him alone, seeking her new life.
Because just talking about the amount of guilt and carry on that big lies and frustrations and even hatred about his fate as Rochester carried on for all these years. He's sometimes rude, sometimes very mysterious, and living in his own world, like him said, all his life in that kind of torturing state. And of course, when he found Jane Eyre, he found the strength in him. And of course, he's facing a dilemma whether he wants to confess before the wedding or let her to find out. I think naturally human has a big dilemma to face. They always have kind of a delayed courage. And then, of course, that timing was totally disrupted by the brother. His wife's brother showed up. So that whole turmoil and chaotic, and for him to turn the world upside down, almost to death after Jane Eyre left. And then the burning, then he's lost his eyesight.
You put your finger on a very interesting point. That's the destruction of Thornfield,
right,
which was set ablaze by the mad woman,
right,
Miss Bertha Mason.
Right.
Now, again, let me ask you, what do you think of the implications of the ruins themselves? Because Mr. Rochester lost his eyesight after the burning, and Jane Eyre came back.
That's really deeply in getting in touch with the Western civilization. I think that has a lot of background about the religion education. If you have a sin, if you have a crime, you have to reward by love. Then you have to pay the price.
Are you talking about the rebirth, the reincarnation?
Exactly. Because he wants to get the love. Then he was a cheater. And he has crime there. And then the burning, the whole thing to come back again, is the it's kind of incarnation about himself, their relationship, let all the wealth, the superficial standards of a human society, or at that time in England, is important. Have money, have land, have all the jewelries, have all the accessories. But that's the hope from the author. In reality, it's hard to do it. I bet. It's really hard to do it.
Let's look at the pursuit of Jane Eyre. What she wants so badly is, of course, love. But, of course, love comes not necessarily from your possession of a material comforts, like excessive possession of the property, wealth. Throughout the whole story, now and then you see discussion about wealth, social status, and social profile, so on and so forth. That reflects the vanity of that age. But Jane Eyre says she only demands and requests the pleasure of a simple life. Simplicity of life is the beauty and the virtue of what Jane Eyre pursues. So when the whole property was set ablaze and destroyed, when they had nothing, happiness came over. And what do you think of this blessing?
The happiness, while you're speaking, is really kind of make my mind going more clear. I would define this happiness for Rochester. Is that you love someone. It's not being pushed to make her happy or being, strategized to say, okay, I want to be with her. I know she wants this. So I temporarily pretend as she wanted that person to think that way. And then that's also a crime. Because I think it's kind of you voluntarily understand that person and embrace her standard.
Okay, and let's take a look at the charm of Jane Eyre.
Right.
She doesn't look beautiful, does she? And therefore, the agony occurred when she said, with a very strong mixed feeling, look, Rochester, I don't look beautiful. I don't have the luxury of material comforts, and yet when we go past the graveyard, standing in front of the God, we enjoy the spirit of freedom, so on and so forth. I'm not reciting the original sentences from the novel itself, but what do you think of this profound message that Jane Eyre delivered?
That's ultimately powerful, very powerful. That's reaching the ultimate, the simple standard. That's the truth. Imagining every rich, every poor person, when you face to face to them, what you get is their way they express themselves. Through the expression, you know the truth of their thought. And then the way they're dealing with that. Because talking about when she say it, if she doesn't do it, that's another story. Because when there's a scene when Jane and Rochester was talking about how to arrange their wedding ceremony. And she said, I don't want all the gift. I don't want anything. If I don't ask, don't give to me. And I just wanted to make sure you all pay me on time. I still want to be the chaperone as a teacher to Adele. And I don't want any other things more than that I need or ask.
So that gives
back then, this kind of an English girl is hard to find.
Yeah, Royal, that gives rise to a fundamental question as to what life actually means to us in terms of happiness. Now, between cradle and graveyard is a journey of discovery and rediscovery. So don't you think freedom, among all others, is one of the most valuable assets?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Jane Eyre is hungry for freedom and, of course, dignity at the same time.
She hated before. She also, left the orphanage. She wants to do her. She never knows she's going to bump into Rochester. So that lively experience, moment to moment, helped both of them to grow. She didn't really bring that agenda. Okay, I want this, do that. She saw Rochester, that pity, arrogant, ridicule, mocking, that kind of a upper class people always do, sarcasm. But then certain things she didn't like it. But then she did find the humor in it. She liked it. You know, that's a great thing about when you hear the audience response. One of the night we had some delegation came in, saw the show. Afterward, they talked to us. They said, after 5 minutes, we forgot we're in Chinese theater, as if we're in American or in foreign country or in England.
Anywhere in the world about
Romeo
and Juliet.
It's like, wow. They said, they're so clear, they understand it. That's the beauty of the classical work.
The first conversation took place when they first encountered on Jane Eyre's way to Thornfield, when Mr. Rochester was thrown from the horseback, and he was obviously injured a little bit. Then Jane Eyre kindly came to his rescue, and a journey of discovery actually had started from that very touching moment.
In that first scene, you can see her. Several things you can read her.
Tell us more.
She appeared to Rochester as a stupid person. Standing in the middle of the road and clumsily, even don't move, dumb. It's like you see someone standing on the highway today.
Spellbound, right? The charm of a man.
Right. He tried to stop the horse, and he thrown down the floor and then hurt himself, and she comes to help. Of course, he was dealing pain and dealing with this stupid violation of a traffic rule, and he blamed that. He really criticizing that, and then she didn't say anything. Sorry, I will help you. You don't need to. I'm okay. And then she was standing there. Then she said, no, but he said, you can go now. And she said, without seeing you stand up or seeing you okay, I wouldn't leave. That shows her such a responsible person.
Don't you think this part of the story actually serves as a silver lining in the darkest clouds of the life of Rochester, you know, whose life was ravaged by one mishap after another?
Right. Because during that scene, we tried to do several ways. One, they really made a horseback, put a table, 2 tables up there, and put a chair. Wanted me to fall down. And then they said, we just hide you there. And then the 2 curtains. And then we give a silhouette shot lights and make the horse you can see from back. And then you fell down. And then they said, they didn't do well. And then someone said, Louis, why don't you go to the side, go the wing, and then from the side fall forward? I said, well, that takes like 8 turns to get to not even the center stage. And finally, my background was Beijing opera. I thought, okay, I can hide in the middle without horse, with a horse little noise, trotting sound, and then I row 4 turns.
You were waiting in the wing, you were waiting in the darkness, and,
right.
and you appeared from nowhere.
Right. But we started in the center.
Dramatic, very dramatic moment.
I was get on the stage while they changing the scenery when Jane Eyre came down from that little red room, that movement, and then probably people watching that scenery, I got into the center. So from that scene on, you saw her almost like an angel helped him up, lift him out of the mess and pain. And then we echoed that part in the very end when he's blind, when she said, I'm coming home. He dropped the cane and then suddenly tried to reach the cane, almost half kneeled down. And then again, she grabbed the cane to him and then helped him up. The 2 lifting, that's our director and actor. We purposely want to bridge and prolong that process that was from Jane. Rochester got the strength that to step out his miserable.
Jane Eyre not only loves Rochester, but she saved Rochester after a fire was set, right?
Yeah.
And that was almost the killing.
If you look at the horse, the first scene,
Yes.
And then the fire scene in his bedroom.
Exactly.
And the very last, when he's blind.
Exactly.
And she said, I could be
Life
your
was
king.
rekindled. Yes.
I can be your leg. I can be your eyes. My eyes, your eyes. I mean, that's, man, as a husband and wife, they're willing to go into that close. It's hard to do, but that's giving a lot of people a good example. Love can be like that.
What do you think of the role of some of the less important characters in the drama? For example, Madame Fairfax, right. The elder servant there, right. Very loyal servant of Rochester. But to my surprise, initially she tried in vain to persuade Jane Eyre to give up the idea right. of marrying Rochester.
Even warned me using sign language. Mm-hmm. Say, remind me, you're a married man. If you really want to play.
What do you think of the symbol of Fairfax in the love story?
It's a mother. It's good mother figure.
Mother figure. And do you think she is the person who delivers the final voice of reason to regulate the life, to serve as a reminder of rationality?
Could be. But that's the beauty about the great writer writes the character. It can go many ways. It depends on the dynamic of the characters, how we interact with each other. Mm-hmm. It changes. It can go. It's like doing Waiting for Godot. Once I played Lucky. If you go quieter, it works. You go crazier, still works. So I think the greatest classical work, it has the broad platform for all kind of human beings to be there.
You are watching Dialogue with Mr. Luoyong Wang, the first Chinese on Broadway, but he played Rochester in Jane Eyre. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, it seems there are two supernatural images throughout the love story of Jane Eyre. One is the mysterious Egyptian fortune teller. A second image representing the will of God is a combination of two persons and individuals. One is Helen, who died of pneumonia in Lowood. And the second is St. John, the priest, who is about to embark on a journey of spreading gospels of God in a remote place like India before that he was asking for the hand of Jane Eyre. Now, what do you think of the role of Christianity? Earlier, you did speak of the role of Christianity. Now, with an attitude towards to be or not to be, death or life. Now, Helen played a very important role. In fact, when I was reading the novel in the early 1980s on the campus of Shanghai Foreign Studies University, I was impressed by the attitude of Helen towards death, because she said, I'm very happy, Jane Eyre, because I'm going to see God very soon. I'll see you perhaps one day in paradise.
Right. That's the beauty about the writing. I think Blantet was so courageous using this centerpiece that to put Western religion into the story. Obviously, from Jane Eyre's feeling towards the religion, there were some negative elements there and feelings too. And she even had the kind of hate feelings, those bad, corrupted orphanage principles.
Uncle Reed, for example, was the representative of the evils.
Right. But he's under the God umbrella, religious school. And when Helen said, then they are not the representative of God. They're not God. So, what is the God? Is using such a young, innocent, clear mind and spirit girl, using her to talking about it. That's so powerful because she's unpolluted. If you're making an adult to play this part or to say those words out, you lose the power. And then, at the same time, St. John, was great. All the bright side about the religious side. But Jane didn't take him is because love is not only in mind. Love is not only concept. Love is a feeling. Without that, make her alive, happy, exciting, that kind of feeling. She wouldn't call that love. When he said, come with me, then we love each other while we're serving the God. Mm-hmm. We define the love while we're on the road to educate those people to know God.
And Jane Eyre actually...
she was at the moment really touched by that. She almost went in.
I'm afraid I don't see this eye to eye with you, because Jane Eyre wants really to keep a distance from the divinity of God. She decided to go back to the normal life of marrying Rochester. And then there was, in the novel, there was the supernatural voice of Jane, Jane, the desperate voice from Rochester after he was
voiced out of his love.
After he lost the property.
Right. I said after the St. John. But he also, you see, St. John, the two sisters talking about him, he was so devoted to Christianity, and then he was so courageous, and then so kind to kids, to girls, and he totally devoted himself into this journey. But Jane came back from that experience with Rochester. She was pondering and debating as well, finding herself her actual journey she wants to choose for the rest of her life, or the next thing she wants to do. And she even thought about to go there. But the deeper she wants to get into the love, or allow her to rehearse that feeling, possible love with the St. John, immediately that nerve connected with Rochester, like Rochester talking about. He felt when he sat next to Jane, he felt there was an instrument string connected to her body, and then whatever she do, he could feel the melody and the feeling in between her and him. So that writing was beautiful. Was beautiful writing.
So Luoyong, let's go back to your early life in the United States. Yeah, you appeared for a record 2,500 times in Miss Saigon as engineer.
Right.
You returned to China in 2002 and turned away from the stage to venture into the country's flourishing movie and TV industries. Now, tell us whether the Broadway years have generated a lot of useful experiences for movies and television dramas. And why did you decide to come back?
Well, first of all, for my daughter. You know, as Chinese American actor in America, we play a lot roles that relate to thug, corrupted officers, closing mind Chinese father, selfish laundry owner, or crazy smugglers. And then one TV series called Third Watch. Very, very, 4 episodes probably. I only had like 3 days, less than a week shooting in New York. I played the Chinese father. Her daughter got some brain infection, and he was burning incense. Wouldn't allow her to go to school, wouldn't let professional people to treat her. He wants to get the evil out of her house and her body to cure her, and eventually almost killed her. That TV series, I played the father and get good pay, One day when I pick up my daughter, she refused to walk with me out of the school. I was the only father. Majority people to receive their kids, mother, grandparents, and I'm sort of in my prime time, every day picking up my daughter. So everybody knows me. So my daughter came out, shooed away, and I was chasing after her. I said, come on, Olivia, what's going on? She wouldn't tell me. For about 2 days, she wouldn't say it. Finally, I corrupted her. I bought her an ice cream. I said, Olivia, what happened? You don't want to walk with me? She said, yeah, you're stupid. I said, what's stupid? You play that stupid father, and everybody called me stupid daughter. They were laughing at me during the lunchtime. I never thought an actor has a social responsibility, consequences until then.
So family is more important, obviously, for you when you look at what life actually means for you.
Right. That's
and your daughter helped remind you of which is more important.
She didn't mean to, but I interpret it in that way. So that's why in 2002 I was asked to do a heroic character, 林海水源. Yang Zirong, that's the character when I grew up.
A national hero for people above the age of 40.
Right. So I thought, wow, I can play him. They said, yeah. I said, okay. Playing all those bad guys, never had a chance to play, unless in Shakespeare I played Romeo. But in the TV series or experimental theaters, I normally play the typical stereotype Asian roles. And I took that role. So that brought me to the cold nearby Russia. Beautiful, those forests. And after that show, I just luckily, one after another one, just kept going. And then until about 4 years ago, I was giving a title, 1,000 Experts Plan or something. That time they said in China, education in theater schools, there aren't many real people working in America on the musical field. And then I was lucky and then selected to that. So after that, I started my own bilingual acting training program at Shanghai Theatre Academy.
Thank you very much, Luoyong, for your wonderful analysis about your role in the Jane Eyre. You are actually a Return of the King to center stage in China. Thank you very much.
Thank you.